There is still a lot of incoming and it's getting close.
We need to get this instrument out of Russia's hands, the instrument of terror.
Ukraine started 2023 with an air of optimism. They'd already managed to move Russia out of a large area of Kharkiv that had generated confidence that they would be able to sweep the Russians out, and therefore they prepared for the spring offensive, meant to be starting in the spring of this year. Western weapons piled into support, including Western tanks, but all of that equipment also needed military training, logistics and some support. Despite a year of intense warfighting, the lines on the map representing the front line haven't moved significantly in over a year. But beyond the headlines, what else might you have missed in the Ukraine conflict this past year? Russia's planning to build a tunnel from mainland Russia over to Crimea, under the Kerch Straits. Crimea has always been really important to Russia. Why is it important to Russia? Because of Sevastopol. It provides Russia with its only warm water port, which of course is vital for global trade. But one of the challenges for Russia has been keeping Crimea resupplied. It's tried using the Kerch road bridge, which was built by Putin after seizing Crimea, but of course that's been attacked several times this past year. The other way of supporting it was via using the Russian Navy. Again, that has been targeted by the Ukrainians very effectively and forcing the Russian Navy into the Sea of Azov. That's why we understand a Chinese company has been brought in looking to build a tunnel underneath the Kerch Straits. That will be phenomenally expensive. It's about the same distance as the Channel Tunnel, will take some time to complete, but just reflects the importance that Putin places on retaining Crimea. Avdiivka has become the new Bakhmut. This year, Russia has been focused on the Donbass. Now, if you remember the vicious battle for Bakhmut, which cost Russia about 30,000 lives, many of those were convicts liberated from prison to do this actual operation. Now, Ukraine has been making efforts to encircle Bakhmut to liberate it back, and Avdiivka is one of the key stepping stones which Ukraine holds. At the height of the battle for Bakhmut, Russia was suffering about 700 casualties a day. But in the last 6 to 8 weeks, the Russians have been mounting over 1,000 casualties a day trying to seize back Avdiivka. And that just reflects the real importance, the vital importance that President Putin places on seizing the whole of the Donbass as a matter of priority. This has been the year of drone warfare in Ukraine. Quantity sometimes has a quality all of its own, and drones are often able to deluge defences, and that's what Ukraine's used very effectively this past year. A good example is that the Russian Navy should dominate the Black Sea. What Ukraine's done very effectively is use drones to target Russian ships and indeed Russian submarines. Military procurement often takes years, whereas actually on drones, literally overnight, the Ukrainians are changing the capability. They're watching how the drones are operating, seeing if Russians are jamming them in any way. They're sitting down with a laptop computer in the evening, reprogramming them, and the very next day, they're not testing them, they're putting them straight back into battle. That asymmetric advantage that's been provided will be absolutely crucial and is undoubtedly going to influence the way the West procures weapons in the future. Russia hasn't achieved all its objectives this year either.
Start by welcoming Finland as the newest member of our alliance.
Russia claims it invaded Ukraine to stop NATO expansion. Yet as a direct result of Russia's invasion, Finland has joined NATO and NATO will continue to expand. Another objective was Putin wanted to make Russia great again. Yet the Russian economy has suffered dramatically throughout the war. President Putin has also been indicted by the International Criminal Court as a criminal, which stops him travelling as a direct result of allegations that Russia has been abducting children. Finally, as well, the Russian military has been decimated throughout this war. Reports suggest that over 2,000 Russian main battle tanks and over 300,000 Russian casualties have been suffered so far. That leaves the Russian military licking its wounds. It will be at least a decade before it's able to mount meaningful military operations again. President Zelenskyy started the year full of optimism, but as the year draws to a close, he will be reflecting on a year of missed opportunities and some very difficult choices that lie ahead. Now, if you look at it objectively, his spring offensive has failed, despite the fact that the West piled a lot of support in. And the question now is, if it didn't work then, When will it work? Is this war actually winnable? And by that we mean, is it possible to liberate the Donbass and push Russian forces out of Crimea? The harsh reality, though, is if the West doesn't believe the war is winnable, how will it progress? Will it provide the financial and military support required?
Extreme Republicans are playing chicken with our national security.
Congress has already stalled the approval of funding for next year, and likewise the European Union has yet to agree a financial envelope for Ukraine as well. Some very difficult decisions for President Zelenskyy after a very difficult year in the war with Russia.